It's Impact with the Florida Star, the largest, oldest, and most read African-American newspaper in Northeast Florida and South Georgia. And now, here's the host, the publisher of the award-winning Florida Star, Clara McLaughlin.
Hello, this is Opio. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Impact, the Florida Star's radio program. And we have a great show lined up for you. We have Councilwoman Ju'Coby Pittman on. She's going to talk about what she's got going on for the next 4 years. And also on the show, you remember the football player that got into the auto accident from FAMU, went knocking on some people's doors, and ultimately the police came and shot him 10 times? You remember the attorney on that case for the family was Chris Chestnut. Well, we got him on, and we're going to be talking about what he was recently in the news for, and that's his fight with the Florida bar. We got part 1 and part 2 for next week. Y'all stay tuned right here on Impact. This is Opio. I am speaking to Councilwoman Ju'Coby Pittman. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. How you doing?
I'm doing well. Well, you got a big victory. Congratulations.
Well, thank you so much. I'm so excited, and I tell you, I could not have done it without the constituents. So I want to thank each of them for going back to the polls for me the first time and the second time for electing me as their representative, for 4 more years. And I'm just honored to work for my district and to help as much as I can and working with my colleagues and to make some things happen and do some things differently in District 8.
You ran before and didn't win. Tell me what that feeling was and talk a little bit about that time.
Well, I think timing is everything, and losing by 1 or 2% that's a heavy thing to swallow. But I feel like God does everything in His own time, and it gave me a little bit more time to learn some more experience and to do the good things that I've been doing in the community for over 30 years. So I just pick up and continue the work on the journey that I'm ordained to do. So, now is a good time, and so I can just only look at my past experience as an opportunity to be better and be a better game changer as I continue to work for the community. I mean, I got my first start as a volunteer working with the Jacksonville Urban League. Ronnie Ferguson was the president at the time, and I just wanted to give back, and I had an opportunity where I had a lot of mentors as well with the Jacksonville Urban League. And I have to thank my many friends that really pushed me to be more involved in the community and take leadership roles. And that was one of the things that had prepared me for not only, being involved with the auxiliary, but preparing me for being on boards, preparing me for, making changes if I saw things that, I didn't like, that, one person could be a change in the community. And, from there, I had an opportunity to work with United Way, which prepared me for not working in Jacksonville, but working in the outlying counties. And then I went from there to the Community Connections that gave me an opportunity to work with homeless women and children. And, I really learned the inside and outside of running a nonprofit, which led me to my next job, which is the CEO and president of the Clara White Mission. And, I've been there for 25 years, starting from a soup kitchen with a budget of $295,000 and a staff of 5. to now to a budget over $3.1 million and over 33 staff. It hasn't always been good. You know what I mean? It's been a challenge, because nonprofits, they depend on public and private donations to keep the doors open. And so I have been, successful and been able to do that with a good board and good volunteers in the community, which have helped prepare me for the position that I now serve in as your city councilwoman for District 8. When I first came, it was appointed about 10 months ago, really just got thrown in the fire. And I have learned, some of the things that I need to do. But the other pieces that I had experience of working, I had been working in the district for about 12 years as well. So, it was so easy for me to share. And, with my background working in nonprofit, I felt that I brought something a little bit different. And I've always been a down-home girl.
Yeah.
I've always, for people, a lot of people that I talk to and have relationships with, or sometimes the people, they walk past them. But I take time to have a conversation, to get input, to find out, what got you in the position that you're in today. And I think has been a part of my success.
Tell us a little bit about Jacksonville as you see it in the way of business. We got to make sure that black people are getting contracts. We got to make sure black people know where the bones are buried so black people can get wealthy and we can build up communities, right?
Well, that is definitely one of my goals and that I've been working on since I've been in to help with working with JSEV and to help attract, African American businesses to our districts. But in order to do that, we also got to make sure that it's safe. We hear about crime, but I would tell you District 8 is a very diverse community. And, we don't get a chance to hear about the positive things that are going on in the community, like parks and senior activities and neighborhoods. A lot of the crime happen in the core district where, the district is the poorest. And so it is imperative that resources, are brought in. Unfortunately, since consolidation, a lot of the promises that were allocated and made to not only, District 8, but 7, 8, 9, and 10. And it's imperative that we work together because whatever happens in District 8, you better know that it's going to happen in the other districts. And to be able to have, signature initiatives that help individuals that look like you and I and work with the school board and work with the churches who are invested in the communities and want better for their community.
You have any projects that you're working on that you really want the community to know about?
Well, actually, developing, prior to me coming into office, I had been working with Councilman Sam Newby regarding bringing fresh organic produce in the community. And so he was able to get some funding, and we are going to, develop a farmer's market. As you know, nice. District 8 is a food desert. Right. And we want to make sure that we bring produce and work with families on how to eat more healthy. So, it's all body, mind, and soul. The other thing is to get rid of some of the negative things that are going on in our community, like, some of the gaming room and arcades that have been create crime in our communities.
one part of the consolidation promises dealt with infrastructure, and you're just not going to come in. A lot of businesses won't come in if they got to spend a whole bunch of money to do some of the stuff that a city would usually do.
Right. And as I said earlier, a lot of that, Opie, is in the inner core of communities, and that's really where we need turnaround programs to help those families, when they're less educated, and they need maybe vocational schools, programs to help, and to be able to bring businesses that can hire the people that live in the community as well. But I think it's very imperative that we have to clean up certain areas. Not only just the crime, there's a lot of domestic violence that's in our neighborhoods, and to be able to work with the state attorney's office and develop initiatives as well as to help women who are being victimized, and every time you turn on the television, it just seems like there's some type of crime that's going on in our community. And so, there's a lot of moving parts. There's a lot of funding that is needed. And I'm championing for those dollars to come to the north side. There's a lot that we need, and it's not going to take overnight to do this, but I am committed for the next 4 years to find resources and to work with businesses that are willing to give back to make a difference and a change in the community in District 8.
Councilwoman Ju'Coby Pittman, thank you so much.
My office number is 630-1385. They can go into my website to see some of the activities and, what I'm doing in the community. How I'm working with churches and working with community organizations. So I'm here, starting in August. I'm going to be going around to some of the businesses and having a chat in the mornings before I go to work. I've also had an opportunity, to visit with some of the businesses and know what some of their needs are. There are facade grants that are available and will be available in the upcoming year, the Northwest Trust Fund. So, I want to be able to listen and also navigate the constituents and the small businesses to help get funding for them to continue to not only stay in the area, but also invest in the area.
All right, Councilwoman Ju'Coby Pittman, thank you so much.
All right, dear. So, this is what I live by. Do all the good you can in all the ways you can for all the people you can, all the places you can while you can.
Ooh-wee. Love it. All right, thank you.
All right, dear. Thank you so much.
Do you know which media solely addresses issues of concern for African Americans? The Florida Star. Do you know which media carries local, state, national, and international news regarding African Americans? The Florida Star. Do you know the only media that carries a special section for our youth at home and the schedule for 3 black television networks? Now you know the Florida Star. Northeast Florida's largest, oldest, and most read African American newspaper, serving since 1951 in more than 200 locations. The Florida Star. News you can use. News you can trust. The people's choice. Striving to make a difference. Subscribe today. Call 766-8834. That's 766-8834. Pick up the Florida Star at over 200 locations. Or to have it delivered, call 766-8834. The Florida Star. Speaking truth to power.
This is Opio. Welcome back to Impact. We have part 1 of a 2-part interview with Chris Chestnut right here on Impact. Chris Chestnut, and I know he's in the news because he's fighting with the bar, and you got a legal system that the Florida Star has written about many times, and so we get to talk about all the good stuff. We have him right here for you. How you doing, sir?
I'm great, man. How are you today?
I'm doing well. There are going to be some people that just moved to town are going to be hearing this in different parts of the country or the world. You know how it goes online. Tell us who you are and what you do and so on.
So I'm Chris Chestnut. Live in Jacksonville, Florida. I've had a number of law offices in Jacksonville, Atlanta, Gainesville. Originally from Gainesville, Florida. So recently been at war with the Florida bar as this barman. So now I'm doing. My family is in the business of mortuaries. So we've been in the mortuary business 100 years. So I'm working with them and then just helping a lot of other lawyers understand the real system out here.
What kind of law did you practice? Tell us a little bit about your law firm.
So I was principally a personal injury and wrongful death lawyer. So we've done a lot of wrongful death cases all over the country, from negligent security to tobacco. We got the largest tobacco verdict in the history of Florida, $23 billion with Willie Gary. We've done cases throughout the country. Catastrophically injured folks, especially in the urban community.
Right. Where did you go to law school? Where did you go to high school?
So from Gainesville, went to Gainesville High School, Gainesville, Florida. Went to Florida State undergrad and then the University of Florida for law school. So the same school.
Tell us a little bit about what kind of college student were you?
I was decent. I did well enough in college to go to law school. I was pretty much a focused student, very involved in student government, pledged fraternity, Omega Psi Phi.
All right.
So the only fraternity, right?
Howard University.
Just joking. Right. But I went to college on a scholarship for community service, which is kind of interesting at the time. So because I'd done so much community service in high school, they gave me a scholarship, and then had an academic scholarship, and then I got a job in the library so I could go to work and study, and that's kind of how I got through college.
So you were doing community service in high school. Is that because you had come from a prominent family that is about service, or is it something that just kind of popped up and this is what you are?
I think it's how I grew up. Both my parents were, my dad was in an elected office, my mom was in an elected office, and so it was more so the exposure to the organizations, just knowing that there is a March of Dimes or Habitat for Humanity or different ways to contribute to the community, especially in the African American community. So by me seeing that access points, I was able to then just go and do it with free time. I mean, I could either watch cartoons or I could go do something meaningful and impact a life. So that's how I got into it, in the community service. My grandmother said, if you do good, make sure you do well. And if you do well, make sure you do good. And so it's just been I've just always been committed to the community. I grew up in a black funeral home, which means I grew up depending on the black community and saw how when you reinvest, because we do it with the funeral home, right? And then it's like, man, we can all win together if we work together. And so when I got into law, we just did the same thing. It's just a commitment to community and seeing the overall community win, right? So everybody wins when we all get back, black, white, regardless of race.
How did...
So we've done everything from Habitat for Humanity to... We did a lot. And we like to do a lot in the north side. So I know we did something with recently with Rains High School, the football team. We won state. I thought that was great, back to back. That doesn't happen often. We did some things with the parks. We're big on parks and that kids have access to things we had growing up. Basketball courts and jungle gyms and things you can play around and get outside and get your blood going.
Did you grow up hearing a lot about your grandfather, great-grandfather? Tell us a little bit about your family. Were they always in Gainesville, or did they come from somewhere else?
Nope, my family's been in Gainesville for 100 years, so we've been in the mortuary business for 100 years. My great-grandfather, my grandfather, my father, and my brother, they're all morticians. So growing up, I did hear a lot about, especially my great-grandfather. My grandfather was down in Marion County, a little south. and the work that they had done in the community. And so I guess it's been generational, because I get one thing my family's always valued is service to the community.
Right.
And as long as you do right and do good by people, you know, you're going to have challenges in life, but overall, God's going to take care of you and good's going to come by you. So we just kind of always live by that philosophy.
But how do you dodge when you become big and your family is big and you send these great sons out into the world, great children out into the world, doing the big things? How do you not get the big enemies? Because that's what's going to happen as well, particularly when you go into law and politics.
Yeah, you definitely get some enemies in law and politics. You know, I don't know that it's something you can avoid. I think it's something that you can certainly be prepared for. And I think oftentimes in our community, we're not always prepared. We only believe in the truth they sell and don't look behind the headlines. I think that's something we have to begin to do in the community. Just start asking questions.
So how did you go into law? Why did you go into law? Why didn't you say, you know what, I'm going to stay in the mortician business? Or is it, you know, you still in the mortician business?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a business you never kind of get out of. It's just in your blood. It's in your blood. You either like it or hate it. And so we still that. I got into law. My mom was in the state legislature when I was in middle school and high school, and I was able to go up there and kind of spend some time with her, just kind of see what she was doing. And I saw the law and how laws were made, and then I saw the importance of the law. Because I would have the benefit of seeing maybe a law go through the legislature one year, and then 3 or 4 years later, I could see the effects, good or bad, on the community. So I began to appreciate the importance of law, and the importance of having either input or at least understanding of the law, so you understand how it affects you personally, and then it affects the community.
Right.
So that's how I got into it.
Do you have other passions? Say something like sports, that you have a side type of passion. Any other type of passion? You sing or you rap or anything like that?
I don't rap. I love rap. So you know, everything from hip hop to ratchet, right?
Right.
And I enjoy, you know, exercising, etc. But you know, I was never an outstanding athlete. I might make the team, but I never really started. So I just play for fun when I can. But you know, and a lot of my free time I spend just doing things around and in the community.
Right.
That's kind of what I
So
get
you're a
my
workaholic. Your passion was really into law and cases, and that's really what you're into.
Yeah, and frankly, for the last 10 years, I mean, most of my career, I've been fighting the bar. So I've been having to play offense and defense. So you don't have a whole lot of free time when you're trying to fight them off with these bogus accusations, and at the same time still remain focused on why you're doing what you're doing in the first place, which is trying to make a difference in the community.
Right. This is Opio. I'm speaking with Chris Chestnut. Tell me, as far as the bar and race, at one point in time, if you were black, you might as well not even apply to the bar. And the bar act like that never happened. You know, and there had to be some special things in order to be able to get the first black person barred. Talk about race in the bar. You see anything that people should know?
First of all, the numbers at the bar are dismal. I mean, less than 5% of the Florida bar is African American. So, it's, in my opinion, we're underrepresented. But you know, the history of the bar, I would argue, is largely race. You know, the Bar Association didn't really become mandatory in about 1950. About the same time, blacks had become, the Virgin Hawkins had come through, and they had to change the law and allow blacks in the law school. So about the same time blacks began to get into law school is when the Florida bar started.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, exactly, right. And so it's no surprise or coincidence that you got two parts of the bar. You got to go pass the test, and then you have a character review. Well, you know, we have a more difficult time passing character and background. And then there's as African Americans, we're disproportionately prosecuted, and we get disparate treatment within the punishment system. So even what I just recently went through is clearly, I believe, racially motivated. Because at the end of the day, first of all, they couldn't even prove any of the cases they brought. And even if you accepted everything they said as true, the penalty is a disbarment.
Right.
So,
okay. Well, let's talk about that. Okay. So, in the news and around, saw at one point in time, it was like all day. They talked about you being disbarred, and they're talking about these different cases that were not handled properly. But when you read everything, it doesn't seem like they had a lot to stand on. And it seems like there's a lot of anger on the bar side against you.
There's a lot of anger because I dared fight them. So I didn't just, they kept offering me plea deals, and I said, I'm not pleading something I didn't do. Let's go. Man up. And so we fought. So they spent a lot of money, a lot of time. It's taken them 6 years to get here. So yeah, it's very personal for them.
Could you have gone a different route? Could you have done some kind of settle or kind of back off type of deal where they would have allowed you to just kind of take a smack on the wrist and kind of keep going? Or did you say, no, I don't want that. We're going to go all the way to the end?
Well, from day one, they had offered me like a 3-year suspension, which are 90-plus day suspension. That was a 3-year suspension. And I said, no, absolutely not. What has also been, what I've seen in my experience is that any black lawyer who's suspended more than 90 days, they never come back anyway. So usually, once you get suspended 90 days, then you have to go back and they reevaluate you. You got to apply for readmission, where we usually don't get that. So I wasn't willing to take a 3-year suspension for something I didn't do. And it's different rules for different people. So even if we accept everything they said on these cases, the issue is this. At the point that they started bringing it, I was an advertising lawyer like a John Morgan or Eddie Farrah. So even if you're saying everything that the clients are saying is true, I wasn't the one working their case. I was managing an office. Their office is. So they were finding me guilty for something somebody
else did
in a Georgia case. Yeah, and I'm saying, listen, if you want to sue me, if you're saying there was a mistake made, sue me, we'll pay that. That's malpractice. But you can't come at me at my license for something somebody else did. You know what I mean? If you and I work together and I wreck your car, and I work for you, then you have to pay for the damages I caused because I was working for you when that happened. But if I caught a criminal charge in your car, you don't get prosecuted for it. You get the distinction? And that's what they're coming in here with me. And I'm saying that's not fair. Aside from the fact that you let other lawyers who advertise, you don't prosecute them individually for things that the other lawyers in the office may have done. But more importantly, brother, I've never even got due process. The cases they're finding guilt on, the first case they find me guilty on, they threw the evidence out based upon what they said was a discovery violation, but I never got a hearing on it, right? So the bar makes an accusation, says I violated the discovery rule. I'm entitled to a hearing. They don't give me the hearing. The judge grants the bar's motions and throws out all my evidence. So, of course, he's going to find me guilty because he don't have no evidence. So in the second case, they did the same thing. In the second case, we come in, it's a 4-day trial. He only did 2 of the 4 days and then found me guilty. Well, I never put on my defense. So the record only shows half of the evidence.
Right.
I asked the Supreme Court for help. I do a writ. They won't hear it. They turn it out. So here we are.
So is your feeling that the Florida bar, and it might not just be the Florida bar, that the Florida bar turns out to be an organization that needs some kind of change inside? And if there's a change that needs to be made, what do you believe those changes should be?
I think it's demonstrated that lawyers can't represent lawyers. I mean, lawyers can't regulate lawyers. So the Florida bar is regulated by other lawyers. So I've got lawyers who I compete against in business who are now making calls on my regulation. I think that needs to be a
Oh, wow.
But I think we also have to, right? So whereas most other industries are regulated by the executive branch, it'd be an agency. So at least now you've got somewhere else you can go for help.
And that was part one of a two-part interview that we have with attorney Chris Chestnut. So y'all stay tuned till next week where we will bring you part two of that interview. This is Opio. We will see you next time on Impact.
Impact.